By the time most kids hit 2, they've had more than 24 vaccinations.
But are so many shots really necessary? And should parents have more say about how many vaccines their kids are getting? Health Watch reporter Beth Galvin is here now to look at this issue for us. Beth?
And Russ and Amanda, most pediatricians vaccinate on a schedule that's recommended by a CDC advisory panel of experts. And the research shows that giving children multiple vaccines will not overload a baby's immune system. But some parents worry it is just too much, too soon.
Hello, how are you? Hey, sweetheart.
Marion Owen came for his 4-year-old checkup with a rocket ship and a smile.
Hey, let's hear your heart, okay? Good job. Oh, good.
And it was smooth sailing until the needles came out.
He needed his DTaP, his polio, his MMR, his chickenpox, his Prevnar 13.
Maury needed 6 shots.
We know it's necessary and we know he needs to do it, but it's really hard to see your child scared.
And if you think your kids are getting a lot more shots these days, you're right. They're vaccinated against 14 infectious diseases, adding up to about 25 vaccines by the time they're a year and a half old. Dr. Lance Rodewald, director of the CDC's Division of Immunization Services, says there's a good reason kids get so much vaccine so early in life.
It's a balancing act. I think the schedule is designed to protect babies as young as possible and as early as possible, because timely vaccination can get babies through the age of greatest risk.
Sarah Walker's oldest, Lila, got her first shot when she was just a day old. 2 months later, 4 more.
It was kind of unnerving to see such a small infant getting 4 shots at one time. And I wasn't necessarily against vaccinations, and I wasn't necessarily thinking that they were horrible or unnecessary, but it just felt like so much.
Do you know how to set it up?
Marissa Wheatley of Oakhurst began to share some of the same concerns.
My son was fully vaccinated on the CDC schedule.
The registered nurse says when her daughter, Ellis, was born 2 years ago, she started to question why so many vaccines were necessary.
I wasn't asking to not do it at all. I was just asking, let's take a step back and just think about everything that we're giving.
The families found Dr. Marion Owen, a Decatur family practice physician who vaccinates on her own schedule, not the CDC's, prioritizing vaccinations for what she sees as immediate health threats and putting off others like polio, which has been largely eradicated in the U.S.
If these kids are living here, they are never going to be exposed to polio.
Those are your handouts.
She also delays the infant vaccines for hepatitis B, a sexually transmitted disease.
Do I really need to immunize my 2-month-old against a sexually transmitted disease? No.
And although safety studies show that infants' immune systems can handle 9 vaccinations at a time, Dr. Owen will never give more than 1 or 2, asking patients to come back in.
If they're willing to, there's no reason not to give the schedule some gimme.
That feels very good when your throat is sore.
Down the street at DeKalb Pediatric Center, parents get a very different message.
We strongly encourage them to vaccinate according to the schedule.
Pediatrician Deborah Pollack says there is no research that shows an alternative vaccine schedule is any safer than the CDC's well-researched one.
It really is made up. There's no science that says this is a valid vaccine schedule. They just create it, sell it, make money.
And Dr. Pollack says the longer a child goes without vaccines, the greater the risk he'll be unprotected. So she sees little wiggle room here.
Go back again.
We basically say that if you don't give the vaccinations as they're scheduled, you risk illness and, at worst, death. That's the reality. A baby can die from pertussis, and so if you choose not to vaccinate on schedule with the pertussis vaccination, you do risk death. It might be a very, very tiny risk, but it's real.
You're a champ. It's certainly much better to eventually get protected than to not get protected at all. And I think that pediatricians that are willing to work with parents who are very hesitant about getting their child vaccinated and work with them and find a schedule that everybody is comfortable with is very important.
Sarah Walker says by the time her daughters are 5, they will be fully vaccinated. But for now, they're going to take their time.
One for each side, yeah.
And Maury Allen is going to collect his stickers for being brave.
You want to show him?
And children are often given combination vaccines that can protect against 2 or more diseases at one time, and that cuts the number of shots that are given. Dr. Rodewald says giving several shots at once may save the child the trauma of having to come back and get revaccinated, and it may save the parents time and also save money in copays that she would do for follow-up. Dr. Owen says if parents agree to keep bringing their children in, she will, spread out the vaccinations.
Yeah, I wonder how common that is. What can parents do? Because some aren't going to be convinced by the CDC schedule. What can they do if they're still concerned about their kids getting so many vaccines at the same time?
Well, I think that the best thing that you can do is really sit down with your child's doctor and ask her or him to explain to you the risks and the benefits of the vaccine. The CDC has a webpage, too, that addresses some of the concerns and the questions that parents have, and we have a link to that, Russ, on our website, and that's myfoxatlanta.com. You can look at some of the frequently asked questions that come up and the issue of how many vaccines is safe to give.
But all the science shows that these vaccines are saving kids' lives.
Yeah.
Beth, thanks very much.